Thank you for joining the Music Game Club July Teacher Chat. So today the topic is older students, specifically teens and adults. Someone's coming in to join us here. Hi, Sarah. It looks like Sarah's connecting to audio, so I'll give her a few more seconds to join us here. Hi, Sarah. Oh, she's still connecting to audio. Hello. Thanks for joining us. So I was just getting started here. The topic today is teaching older students. And so that would be teens and adults of any age. So I have a few things. So jump in at any time, or if you want to add some comments in the chat, I can read those out as we talk today about this topic. So I would say the very first and possibly the most important thing is repertoire for this older age group. Probably the most critical. So also just getting to know your teen or the older adult and their interests in music. So I've had a broad range of some teens just wanting pop songs or Taylor Swift songs, and then sometimes older adults just want like old hymns or familiar folk songs or songs from the 50s and 60s, songs that they grew up hearing that they want to learn how to play on the piano. Some teams like gaming music, music from movies and musicals. Sometimes students want to just play classical music, but typically what I see in my studio, they are asking for more modern options. Sometimes just for adults, they just want pretty sounding, full of patterns. They just want to relax. They don't want to work too hard at learning a piece. And so giving them repertoire that allows them that quick win of learning something quickly. So if it's pattern-based and if it's just flowing and very lyrical, sometimes that's a big win for them. So I have a few favorites, and I'd love to hear where y'all pull repertoire from. So some of my favorites for playing duets with students that are teens to adults. Stems Up Sound, because they have a lot of Megalovania music, some gaming music over there. And they also have some duets that they've taken from pop and rock songs, and they've arranged it for two pianos or one piano. So Stems Up Sound is one. Anderson and Rowe, of course, are a favorite. Bella and Lucas. I like that Bella and Lucas have some duets that are a little bit easier, so they're not late intermediate. Some of them are more on the intermediate, even early intermediate side, so that's helpful. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of, if you're familiar with Piano Pronto, Chrissy Ricker has a lot of music that she has written and arranged that teens really love. Shorter pieces that are very rhythmic and pattern-based, and so it's very engaging for those students. Jennifer Eklund has a lot of lyrical, beautiful pieces that she's written that are accessible for adults. Another resource I pull from is Supersonics Plus. So if y'all are familiar with Daniel McFarlane, he's got a great, huge resource that he continuously pumps new music into. And his backing tracks are fabulous. Huge symphonic backing tracks. Even for the beginner teen or beginner adult, that really helps the sound, the sound that they're producing during their lesson or during practice time is very gratifying to have that beautiful track to play with. I've learned that not moving too fast through higher levels. So just a lot of lateral movement is very helpful, especially if it's a teen or adult that just doesn't have a lot of time to practice. Just keep giving them pieces that are just more of the same that they like. So I'd love to, if any of y'all want to chime in, if y'all want to throw it in the chat or unmute yourself and share where you pull repertoire from for teens and adults. I'd love it if any of y'all have, I would say Compose Create is another place that Wendy Stevens is fabulous. She's got a lot of great options. Anybody else? Where do you pull repertoire from?
Hey, I'll share a little bit, Rebecca. Thanks. So I have to say that I'm looking at the list that I was able to write down. Didn't get them all, but for my teenagers, because that's the biggest class that I have when I teach in the school is teenagers. So they're 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It's middle schoolers, and then I don't have a lot of adults right now. I've had them in the past. It's just harder for them to practice all the time and stay consistent. But my teenagers love the Chrissy Ricker music. They love the Compose Create. It was really interesting because we were just getting started with some stuff, and I pulled out one of Wendy Stevens' beginning pieces on the Black Keys. And I can't remember if it was Ancient Forest or Gathering Storm. There's 3 of them, and it just gave a huge and I'm sure many of these artists that you've mentioned, but it just gave them a huge self confidence boost. And so they just felt like, oh, I can do this. And many of them got stuck on those for a while, although I tried to quickly get them off so that they could, instead of just working on finger numbers, get the notes on the lines and spaces and stuff. But it was just a huge, huge thing there. One of the things I love to do also is I love to just teach them chords by showing them how to create chords. So I'll teach them something basic like a chord progression, one of the more popular ones for popular music. I know when the song Peaches became popular, I taught them that one before I told them what I was playing. And then they started to listen. And as soon as they realized what I was playing, they were saying, oh, that sounds familiar. I think I've heard this. And so a little name that tune was really fun. And then they just learned how to accompany themselves while they sang it. And that was really cool. But after you play around with chords enough where the kids can feel like they can play all over the piano and try to take that box down and stay in one position, and they can go from chord to chord, major to minor to whatever chord progression you put up there to practice in arpeggios or blocked form. Or I like to open that world for them. And then I like to give them lead sheets, because simple lead sheets, that tends to give them a lot of freedom, and they don't have to think so hard. They will play the melody, and it can be something basic. Christmas time is a great time where I get a Christmas packet of lead sheets, have them play Christmas tunes. They know them, so they can play them by ear. Then they can start putting their own chords to them. And then every once in a while, these tunes will have something specific. Maybe you're going to throw in an E major chord, but you haven't learned it yet. So then they start asking, well, what does this one mean? And so they start learning new chords, and it gives them more motivation. So again, I like how you talked about the familiarity of the pieces. And I feel like the lead sheets help them also realize, hey, look what I can do, because I already know some of the basics. So those are some things that I like to do to just open the world of, you can do a lot with this. And then to level up, I'll give them another tip and another tip, and and sometimes because of that, then you find, I don't know if it's Jennifer Eklund or Chrissy Ricker who wrote some of the classical pieces in a simpler forms. And so they start to become and develop a taste for that. And it's wonderful to give them that taste, because then they start to request more of the classical music. And you can get some simpler and then more advanced and more advanced. And so it helps them kind of work their way up. So those are just a few different routes. Of course, it depends on which kid I'm teaching, because I'd like to make sure they feel like they are successful. So here's my
Yes,
ideas.
that's a good point. I also thought Andrea Dow also has
Oh,
some
Yes.
classical pieces that her Bach, she has Bach, Chopin, Mozart, Beethoven sessions. I don't know if you've come across those. Those are,
Yes.
yeah,
I bought those books and I
yes,
have two or
they're
three students who love them.
yeah.
So we always listen to a little bit of the introduction of the actual piece that it's
The theme.
drawn from,
Mhm.
learn about the composer, learn about why, maybe if there's any why, or what kind of a picture we can put in our mind. Then we put it in the pop form that she wrote. And
Right.
she does such a great job with lots of repetition as well, lots of fifths. I call them the power fifths, so that they can just run with those. But yes, I think three of those pieces were performed our spring recitals. So anyway.
Yeah, and sometimes that can be like a gateway into more of the traditional classical music that a student may not consider, but once we kind of teased it in there with more modern sound, then they're more interested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There you
Thank
go.
you so much for
You're
jumping
welcome.
in. Those are great. I love that teens and adults have a bigger hand, so we can give them chords right away from at the beginning. So that's super, that's a good point. So another topic would be connection. So really, really caring about what's going on in your adult student's life or your teen's life. Asking them about it, like remembering the next week, like, oh, how did your band audition go? How was your vacation to Greece? Just making that connection point. So it's not just all business, it's that human connection. Also allowing them the opportunity or maybe encouraging them in accompanying other musicians or playing with others, maybe just like a neighborhood band or collaboration with other instruments in your studio if you offer, or if you have other teachers in your studio that teach other instruments. Obviously, playing advanced duets, or not even advanced duets, just any duets of any level of any student, is it's one of my favorite things to do. I do from day one. We're always playing together. And kind of highlighting them if they are a more advanced student at the end, you're really showcasing their talent and encouraging other students, if you just stick with it, you just don't ever quit music, you can be at a higher level someday. So highlighting them, putting them at the finale of recitals, encouraging them to play in their church band, or a peer band. Like, those are some wonderful things that I've been able to encourage my teens and my adult students. And so they get a lot of joy from having that extra connection. And then obviously, Anna mentioned this, a lot of adults just don't have a lot of time to practice, and that's okay. Sometimes our expectation as a teacher needs to shift for those older students. A lot of my students are also in band and marching band. And so in the fall, it is consuming their life. And so that's okay. So we back off a little bit on the heavier things, or we start way early. So like, I'm already picking out our Christmas duets for a Christmas recital. Like, I'm picking them out now. We're going to start them as soon as school starts. So we've mastered everything way in advance, so it's not stressful. Another thing is, just be lighthearted, make it an enjoyable time. So, I just make sure that, even if they come in stressed, sometimes teens and adults can come in pretty sour, like they've had a bad day, or it's just a stressful time, or they had a stressful event or stressful news. We can be compassionate and understanding and concerned, but then it's like we've got to make that time so enjoyable. So we have to just shift it. Okay, let's play some music together. There's nothing that can shift a mood better, right? Than just, and you can also remind them, hey, there's nothing like when at the end of the day, play something that you really enjoy. Were you going to say something, Anna? Oh no, okay. So, and I also play games with my teens and my adults. One of the things that I like about the Music Game Club games is they're not babyish in any way. Like, the art is original. They do not feel like it's juvenile in any way. It's just a game, and it's teaching them a important music theory concept. And it's a fun way to like compete with your teen or with another adult. And I laugh a lot when I'm playing games. I am super competitive, so it's a way to bring levity and just kind of infuse joy during the lesson time. Also connecting music theory, it also helps connect whatever concept. So like Anna mentioned chords earlier. And actually the game for this month, if y'all stay on, we have a giveaway at the end. Crow Chords is our giveaway. It helps them connect what they're learning, the theory part of it, back to their music. So building chords will help them understand, oh, when I'm looking at something, then I can analyze it, I can look at it and figure it out. It's like reverse engineering. Let's see, what else? Does anyone else have any connection things that they do to help connect during lesson time or away from the lesson time during the week? Feel free to write it in the chat if you're not able to talk right now. Another thing is sometimes adults want lessons every other week, and you have to decide, are you going to allow for that? I'd rather have an adult come every other week than not at all. So for me, that was always acceptable. So yeah, patience, understanding, compassion. Teens and adults have a lot going on in their lives, so we just have to kind of edit our expectations for that older age group. Another thing that I have found, of course, this is true actually with any age student, but teaching them how to practice. I think as adults and teens, we get in a rush and sometimes we forget just really basic things like, if I'm making a mistake, I need to stop and narrow down and figure out what's causing the mistake, what's causing the pause, what's causing the wrong note, and just reminding them, hey, just take a minute and narrow your approach. Don't start again from the beginning, even though that's kind of our default, like, oh, I screwed up, let me do that again. So just kind of practicing how to practice with them during the lesson. And sometimes if you can just fix the mistakes in the lesson, then they can go home and just easily practice it in the week. And it takes out that kind of the stress of learning it. So sometimes when I issue a piece to a student, I know where those tricky spots are going to be because I've taught it before. So it's like, I know this is going to be a tricky spot. Let's just focus on these few measures right now first, and then let's run through the whole piece. So teaching them how to narrow down. Sometimes it's a fingering issue. Sometimes it's an eye issue. I always joke with my students, I wish our eyes were like lizards. You know, I wish we could move our eyes independently. So when our right hand needed to reach really high and our left hand needed to reach really low at the same time, we could, but you know, so just teaching them, oh, actually, the reason you have a pause right there is because you're choosing to look right first, but if you just looked left first and got your left hand situated, and then your right hand can move right on time at the beat. So sometimes it's an eye issue. Sometimes they're just going too fast and they just need to slow down. And then once they can play it perfectly at a slower tempo, then they can speed up. And then just anticipating, preparing their hands ahead of time, just so they're more successful. Yeah, and I always remind my adults and teens, it's okay if you don't want to practice, if you're like too stressed, but take a break. Say you have, I don't know, a big exam coming up. Take a break during your study time and just play one or two pieces that you really enjoy that you already know. Don't even consider it practice, just sit down and enjoy. And sometimes that ends up segueing into practice time, because once they're at the piano and they're actually sitting down and they're actually enjoying playing a piece that they love, that they already know, it does not require any extra brain power. And it's like, oh, okay, actually, I'll run through my new piece one time. So I found that even if they didn't want to 4 minutes earlier, if they just play one or two songs that they really enjoy, sometimes that can segue into more practice. So I don't know if y'all have any more tips on teaching teens and adults on how to practice. I'd love to hear your tips. Anybody? Or any other things that you can think of that are impactful in your studio with teens and adults?
I would love to mention two things. I don't know about any of you, but instant gratification seems to be something that teens are looking for. They want it now, and it's because of the age, the smartphones and the technology where they can get a lot of instant gratification, and that's something that they learn. And I think I was going to mention that that's probably why I take the chord approach, is because I want them, a lot of them just want to play right now. They don't want to start at the beginning. And even though I do use an adult book, method book, and I give them what I call benchmark songs. That's the classroom, that's that, so that they have to pass those off. I do need to bring in some external pieces, as you've mentioned before, like Andrea Dow and Chrissy Ricker, or some of these others, for the instant gratification, just to see if we can get them going, because they like that sound better. But another thing did that would be interesting is to, when you play a game, you can have a dice. You can have, well, I guess you would need two dice depending on how many measures your song is. But one of the games I've played this last semester that I thought was effective is just to roll the dice numerous times and write a list of the numbers down. But before, make sure you know how many measures are in your song. And then with your students, say, okay, you have number 3. Let's start with measure 3 and just play measure 3 for about 5 measures, depending on how long the song is. Sometimes you can start at measure 3 and go to the end of the song. Sometimes you can start at measure 7 and go to the end of the song. And the reason why I love that is it breaks up and how to practice. This is what I've challenged one of my students to do over the summertime is a couple of weeks ago, because she wouldn't be here for 2 weeks, was to practice the number game, have her family yell out a number anywhere from 1 to 43. I think there was 43 measures in her piece. She's an advanced player. And that way she would start at measure 32. And sometimes they'll say, but wait, that's in the middle of a phrase. And I'll say, I know. It's in the middle of a phrase, but it breaks it up in your brain so that muscle memory breaks it up. So they really understand the piece and they start to learn it in different forms. So that's another way I like to try to break things up as far as how to practice and a fun game. If they just get 5 different numbers and that's their task, is to play that piece from whatever that measured number is all the way to the end for those 5 times. A lot of times that takes care of, what if I mess up? Do I have to always go back to the beginning, or can I continue on? And I found that my beginners actually enjoyed it as well as my advanced kids, especially when they picked the second to the last measure. They thought that was so funny. I only have to play 2 measures. But then when we got finished, I said, okay, now let's play the entire song. Everyone sit up straight. Here we go. And it's whether it's one student or multiple students, that game type of experience brings in that, it's that whole frontal cortex, that whole part, that the pleasure is what those teenagers are looking for. And so I find that anything that we can do to add that game element, that's why I love your games as well. We've done the circle of fifths. We've done the dynamic den. I just put another one together that I haven't played yet, the note naming one that I wanted to try out. And then the chords one I was interested in learning as well. But anyway, that game form, it brings a level of excitement for the kids. So anyway, more tips.
Yeah, love that. Yes, small bites, like not giving them too much every week is another. Yeah, I love that you mentioned. Yeah, that's a great way. Rolling the die like that is also a great way to, it's kind of like sneak in extra practices, like they're playing it multiple times, even if it's just fragments of it each time. But yeah, that's a great idea. Love that. All right. Well, does anyone else have any? I'm looking here in the chat. Does anyone else have any other comments about teaching older students? We talked about repertoire, connection, and then practicing. So awesome. Well, I'm going to add in your names here. Normally, Amanda is on the chat with me and she's traveling. She's on vacation. So I'm going to put your names in my little spinny wheel here on my iPad. Okay, so we have Anna. I'm going to make sure I have everybody. Okay, I have Anna. And I have Sarah Miller. And Linda Stevens. And Pauline Goodwin. And Deborah Redmond. Did I get everybody? Am I seeing everybody? All right. So for the crow chord, so I've got my little, got all your names here. It says Rebecca, but I was just testing it earlier. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna spin the wheel. Pauline Goodwin is our winner today for crow chords. So Pauline, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can.
Hi. Can you
I've never been on one of these before.
Oh, good. That's great. Well, you just won crow chords. So can you, in the chat, can you send me your email address and I can get you that free game?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, we do this the first Friday of every month. So let me look at our calendar here. The next chat will be August 2nd from 10 to 10:30. So, and we always have a freebie at the end of the chat. So it's always a good convo, and then you get a chance to win one of our games. So looking for,
That's 4 o'clock over here.
Yeah. Sarah, do you have a comment or were you just waving bye?
No, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have a recommended way, or have you covered this somewhere that I need to check to index the materials we get from you by topic?
So you can, there is a graph where it shows all of the different like intervals, ear training, chords, like it is organized. And you can also search for a certain topic and it should pull up the games that cover that.
Where are we going to do this?
So if you go to musicgameclub.com and then click
all of your games. I want to do just, well, I guess it might
just
help.
the games you have.
Just the games I have.
So it might, you might want to go to our website and plug in your game, and then I think you can see in the description what tags we have for, like if it covers intervals, if it covers ear training, and then maybe just make a graph for your personal games and just organize it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
You can email us at support@musicgameclub.com with your list of games, and we can email you back with easy categories if that's helpful. We can do that because yeah, we see our games every day, so it's like top of mind for us. But once you get like 12 games, it's like, oh my goodness, what am I looking at here? So
well,
yeah.
I've been a member for a while, and I have tons of boom cards now.
Good.
I needed boom cards. All my kids were asking for a boom card challenge. Okay, so I gave it to them, and I have all these decks of boom cards. I'm going, now what was this good for? And in thinking about planning, I'm thinking, okay, I need to pop this into my curriculum so I know when to assign these things.
Yes. Yeah. We'd be happy to help if you want to give us your list of games, and we can help help kind of get it all organized as far as categories and stuff. Yeah, we'd be
Well,
happy.
that's very thoughtful of you.
Yeah.
Which
I've
means
been-
I have to go through my hard drive and and my Google Drive and figure out what do I have.
What do you have? Yeah, game organization digitally and physically. Like if you have the printable game, yeah. I mean, there is a system that if once you kind of get it locked in, then yeah, I went through a big organization thing. I don't know if y'all have seen the little video I have. I can fit like 4 years worth of games like in one little rolly. It has I don't know remember how many drawers it has, but it's so nice. Like I can fit 3 or 4 games in each drawer. It's really nice. Yeah, so happy to help.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I see Pauline's email address, so I'm gonna write that down really quick. All right, well, thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next month. Awesome. Bye, guys.